Hi, and welcome to the Lemonade Car Show on Rogers TV. I'm your host, Lorraine Sommerfeld. Tonight, as always, we'll be answering all of your car-related questions. The Lemonade Car Show is brought to you by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator, and we're produced by the APA, the Automobile Protection Association. The APA is a consumer association. It's membership-based and nonprofit, so we benefit you, the consumer. You can reach us at apa.ca or by phone at 416-204-1444. Joining me today is John Raymond. He's an industry consultant, and Tim Danter. He's a driving instructor with DriveWise in Oakville. We'll be taking your calls all evening at 800-968-7836. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Tim, it's nice to have you back.
Great to be back.
It's been a while. It started to snow, and we thought we better call Tim. Before we get to you, John, lots going on.
Couple things this week. It's auto show season. There's the Detroit Auto Show on, and there will be Montreal coming up. So there are some announcements that we'll be making in future shows. But today there was a service action in the States. It's a former recall for Subaru for high oil consumption.
Is that all?
Four-cylinder cars,
Okay.
Certain date range or model year. If they call, you have customer people here that want to call the APA, we'll get you the information. It's in the U.S. only now, and it extends the warranty on the engine and does some other repairs. It should be coming to Canada, so probably in the next 2 or 3 months we'll have a definitive answer. But Subaru four-cylinder engines had high oil consumption, and it's been a problem that's been known for a long time, and Subaru actually stepped up to bat and did the right thing and came out with a warranty extension, etc.
So Canadians can keep an eye out for that,
Correct.
hopefully, in the future.
And always in our minds, Volkswagen.
Really?
Volkswagen, exactly.
That is the gift that keeps on giving.
That's
I can
right,
talk about
the diesel
Volkswagen all
gift that
day.
keeps on giving. So tomorrow is Volkswagen's big day with the EPA in the US, and the reason we're interested in this in Canada is what happens in the US happens in Canada. So Volkswagen will be brought across the mat, and they're going to come up with their suggestion, and we'll see if the EPA goes for it. On a side note, on Monday, the California Air Resource Board nixed Volkswagen's plan for the recall. So they said, no, Volkswagen, it's not good enough, go back to the drawing board.
Why is Canada doing nothing? Volkswagen in Canada, and I mean, it's frustrating, but our government, nothing is being done. Is it just wait and see because of the U.S. has more muscle?
Well, it's definitely wait and see what happens in the U.S. because U.S. Emission laws drive what happens in Canada and North America as a region.
Are we going to issue fines? Are we going to do something? I mean,
there's been talk about that. I think we're the caboose. And we're going to wait and see what happens. And it's a different regulatory environment and legislation. In Canada, you don't see the huge class action suits. There will be in Canada in this subject, but you don't see the big fines that you see definitely in the U.S. compared to elsewhere in the world and Canada as well.
Well, they should do something. What I'm hearing from readers and viewers is I've got a Volkswagen and it's going to come up to the drive clean thing. So we're talking about 2009. It's like this,
Right.
These are older cars. And right now, drive cleans are just passing them.
Yeah, because they're all based on your check engine light.
Yeah.
And assuming the check engine light is not on, it doesn't detect any faults. But it is emitting pollutants.
Oh, it is. They've admitted there's a cheat code in it. That's why they passed initially. They're going in. It's like, I know it's cheating and you know it's cheating, but they're passing them at this point. But at some point in the future, something's going to, this is what's confusing everybody, is when does this start to be regulated or changed?
But don't forget, that's also legislation and regulation. So when they finally come up with a fix, probably what will happen is Drive Clean will say, we're going to need some confirmation that the recall was done on that engine. So not only will they check for an engine light, they'll also say, was that car repaired properly?
And I've heard estimates that, and again, this is within the industry, well, people that will actually go and get the fix done, I've heard estimates about maybe 25% of people with these cars because they don't want to sacrifice the torque and the efficiency, which is, 1,000 kilometers to a tank.
Well, that's the other interesting thing. The Volkswagen owners that drive diesels and TDIs, okay, they love their cars.
Yeah,
and basically they're saying, you know what, don't touch my car. I'm going to keep it the way it is, and I don't want to have a loss in performance, number one, and fuel economy. Actually, number two is range, and then fuel economy. So.
If they legislate a fix, isn't that going to be the vehicle owner breaking the law?
But this is becoming a ball of worms because of these it's chicken and egg, like what's going to happen next.
Well, actually, there is no legislation that says that you would be fined or...
But when a car changes hands, like if you go to sell it, it's got to pass a drive clean, and it won't if it hasn't had a fix done, if a fix has been authorized.
If they bring that in as a regulation.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's already a regulation. You've got to pass a drive clean to transfer title.
But the drive clean is your check engine light, and...
But if a fix hasn't been done, then what Tim said is right, is you knowingly are breaking the law.
Avoidance of the...
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Slippery slope.
The questions keep piling on.
Ellie,
And Volkswagen's so quiet.
Our friend Ellie Melinek, he's the expert on that.
Yeah.
So we could ask him when he's here.
I'll go back to tailpipe stuff, but I don't really...
So this is going to be a very interesting show tonight. You and I were talking prior to going on. And
that's right.
We called for snow and we got it.
Yeah. So we were talking about electronic nannies and backup cameras in our weather environment and all sorts of things.
My colleagues drove down to Detroit, and everyone had a variety of cars, from a smart car up to big Pathfinders and stuff, and all of them, they're driving into a storm. All the flights were canceled, so they ended up trucking down the 401, and the sensors were all negated because of the ice and the snow on the front. So I'm thinking, whenever we're talking about automated driving and all this stuff coming in, Canada is going to have a asterisk beside it because of the weather, if nothing else. Because we all know backup cameras are great until there's crud all over them and you can't see anything, or even if it's raining. So I think this whole automated thing, do you think it's going to go like different countries, different stuff? Like if your sensors aren't working, can you imagine the pileups of a car? Oh, it's supposed to drive itself.
Yeah, and just the sheer ignorance of saying, well, you know, I'm so reliant on the technology, and then...
That's what we were saying.
Yeah, exactly what we were saying.
Are you seeing different kinds of, like when students come in, a lot of these kids have only ever driven in a car that's got lane departure and backup warning signals and all the rest of it. How do you teach them to go past
I just say, look, I mean, you're controlling a piece of metal going down the road, and if this technology fails, now what are you going to do? The one thing that they do become dependent on, what I've seen is consistently, is their blind spot detectors. So I don't have to check them over my shoulder for the blind spot. I've got this blind spot detector, and it's like, yeah, but
and
they don't get it.
And backup cameras.
Yeah. That's actually a big. It's a fighting point in the industry because I have colleagues and I know instructors that say if your mirrors are set, which is more, most of us are used to looking at the butt of our car.
Right.
We're taught that when we're young, see the
portion.
You tip them out so you don't see it. And if someone walks around and you've got your 3 mirrors set properly, you can pick them up as they move around, and that's cool. So I've got people, some instructors, and I've got colleagues saying, you never have to check your blind spot anymore because you don't have a blind spot. It removes the blind spot. And I'm like, you're really telling people not to do a fraction of a second shoulder check for motorcycle, cyclists,
I think
whatever.
That's nonsense.
Thank you. There's fights going on.
And ridiculous, because to get from point A to point B, especially in the GTA, we're on multiple lane, roadways, and you've got to look, when you check over your shoulder, you've got to look 2 lanes over, because you've seen that happen on the freeway all the time, or the multiple lane roadways in town.
And you'll have a motorcycle, or you're going to have a tractor trailer.
Yep, absolutely.
And the lane departure is good, but to me, how can you not want to look? And
where you're supposed to go.
My kids, somebody told one of them, oh, but if you do that, and I said, don't you dare. No. It wasn't Ari, don't worry, the one you taught, it was the other one. It's like, no, you can't do that.
Making sure when you back up that you physically turn your body and your head.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I understand sometimes, actually we've talked about this before, if you've got drivers who have had physical problems or they do have neck problems, sometimes setting the mirror can give them an absolute benefit because, if you don't have full mobility, it's an aid, like it will help you.
You also have to think about the aging population as well, that are, we're living longer and things to help promote that, right? So there's a time and a place for that.
That's what I mean, there's good
you've got to have your good,
there's absolutely good points.
And a lot of these cars have had smaller windows with, less glass area now, and big posts. Yeah. So the front pillar is called an A pillar. Now they're thick. And the B pillars are the next one over are thick. So
compromise
you can't necessarily see. And sitting in an SUV where I'm sitting up high, I could see. You're not necessarily seeing anymore. You're seeing from above,
higher.
But
yeah.
And
Well,
cars and trucks are getting bigger.
Well, one of the body guys that was on said that he's got more damage on their back or rears because people are just.
Yeah, he said that a number
around.
of times. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going. I think we're going to see more of that kind of damage, maybe. The Lemonade Car Show, brought to you by OMVIC, Ontario's motor vehicle sales regulator, returns after this short break. When we come back, we'll be taking your calls with our Ask a Mechanic, 800-968-7836.